And howdy, everybody. Welcome to Word Redeux 86. Happy Sabbath. Today we are continuing on in Deuteronomy with chapters 19 and 20. Who do we got over here? Doesn't look like it started on YouTube. There we go. Okay. I will talk about those with you personally later, Lynn. Okay. Hey, you know what? It's going to be hard for us, but now's when we really have to press in and start telling people about adhering to or coming to, seeking out, and applying to their life our Lord and Savior. If you want to come out of Babylon, go to c2kreport.com. And they have free classes. Next one starts in early December. If you don't have a Bible, you can read it online. KingJamesBibleOnline.org, 2 different versions. BlueLetterBible.org, multiple versions. eSword.net, multiple versions. BibleHub.com, multiple versions. And audio Bibles at BibleStudyTools.com/audio-Bible/. Okay. Is everybody having a good day so far? Good day of rest? Some of you are about halfway through the day. You East Coasters. All right. Today we are continuing in Deuteronomy 19 and 20. Don't remember if I said that. But before anything, as usual, let's go ahead and pray in. Heavenly Father, thank you very much for bringing us together today so that we can get fed with your word. We're very happy for that, and thank you for it. And we ask your blessing for your spirit to be poured out on everybody here now and in the future so that they can, all of us can get the message that you need us to have, whether it be collectively or independently. And we do thank you for that. Let us be good examples for you as your ambassadors, as you have told us, as we go out into the world and interact with others, trying to draw them back into your kingdom. And we just seek your blessing on that. We ask for your healing touch on those that are recovering from surgery and those that are caring for those recovering from surgery, as well as those that have been sick with various things that seem to be going around. Bless you. We love you. In Jesus, Yeshua's name. Amen. All righty. Who's ready? Who is ready? I don't know why that closed. Okay, there we go. Maybe some people shouldn't be so tired doing this. Okay. Let's get this so that you have that right there. And let's get rolling, shall we?
And thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses. Thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Thou shalt prepare thee a way, and divide the coasts of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts, that every slayer may flee thither. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in time past. As when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor, that he die. He shall flee unto one of those cities, and live. Lest the avenger of blood pursue the slayer, while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. Wherefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee. And if the Lord thy God enlarge thy coast, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers. If thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love the Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee, beside these 3, that innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, that he die, and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. 1 witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall the matter be established. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. And thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Deuteronomy 20. When thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them, for the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when you are come nigh unto the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint, fear not, and do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you, to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. And the officers shall speak unto the people, saying, What man is there that hath built a new house, and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. And what man is he that hath planted a vineyard, and hath not yet eaten of it? Let him also go and return unto his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man eat of it. And what man is there that hath betrothed a wife, and hath not taken her? Let him go and return unto his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man take her. And the officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go, and return unto his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his heart. And it shall be, when the officers have made an end of speaking unto the people, that they shall make captains of the armies to lead the people. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make thee answer of peace, and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein shall be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. And if it will make no peace with thee, but will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy God hath delivered it into thine hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. But the women, and the little ones, and the cattle, and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shalt thou take unto thyself, and thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Thus shalt thou do unto all the cities which are very far off from thee, which are not of the cities of these nations, but of the cities of these people, which the Lord thy God doth give thee for an inheritance. Thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth, but thou shalt utterly destroy them, namely the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that they teach you not to do after all their abominations which they have done unto their gods. So should ye sin against the Lord your God. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. Only the trees which thou knowest that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down, and thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee, until it be subdued.
All righty. We'll go back to chapter 19 there. And look at that.
How's it going?
Bueno, Senoro. Let's see.
I'm not going.
I know. That's because I haven't done this yet. Okay, echoing.
If you could hear. No, we're good. We're good.
You sure?
I mean, I'm all right.
Shirley? You okay, Shirley? Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. Don't pity those. Do not pity them that you hack to pieces and kill.
It's a little hard to do.
What, not pitying them?
No, I'm saying to pity.
Oh.
I mean, if you know, I don't know. I just like, I don't know. I guess I just described a sociopath, but if you get, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder, though. You know, because psychology is basically quackery, right? And who invented it? The synagogue of Satan?
What's interesting from what I've heard, there's not like a medical diagnosis for the terms that we use for like sociopath or psychopath, or they don't, you know, like there's not like a treatment or anything. So they don't, you know, anyway, it's just, it's a description.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going down.
Well, it's because we said, do not pity.
Right.
You shall not pity them. That, but it's interesting. 3 cities, basically of refuge, what we would call a what do we call those things?
Sanctuary cities.
Thank you. Yeah, sanctuary city. Yeah, so city of refuge in that, and you know, they give an example. God gives an example. You know, like if you're out chopping wood with your buddy and the axe head flies off and kills him, that person should go to the city of refuge. You know, it wasn't something they intended to do. It was an accident. You know, these days they may use the example of, you know, someone's not paying attention to where their kid is and you're going to work and you back out over their child on their tricycle and kill them. Then the person driving the car would book to one of these cities of refuge before the dad gets a hold of them.
Right. Like manslaughter. Basically.
Yep. Manslaughter. What do they call that? Negligent homicide sort of thing. Of course, that's man's terms.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So
you were really choppy, buddy. Am I the only one that did that?
I don't know. I know my router's not too happy this morning. Yeah.
I tell you, what stood out to me was that part. What is it? 9. Provided you are careful to keep all this commandment, which I command you today, by loving the Lord your God, by walking ever in his ways, then you shall. Hang on, where am I at with this? 10, where it says, "Lest innocent blood be shed in your land," and it made me think, like, I mean, what's the most innocent blood? you know, they put these clinics all over the United States. People don't
Yes,
even
they
think
do.
about it. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, it is interesting. It is the most innocent of blood that we have. It's also many times the first fruits, right? First fruits of the womb.
Yeah.
That, yep, very interesting. Yeah, and then so if someone murders his neighbor because he hates him and then flees to one of these cities, the elders of this city drag him out. Here he is. Here's the guy that killed your brother or your dad or your sister or uncle, whatever. Here he is. Yeah, we got this guy here. He did what? Go get him. And then you got a big group of people grabbing him, throwing him out of the city.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting. It just made me think there was a story. This little girl, how do I put this together in less than 5 minutes? So I was watching something the other day and it was talking about the old covenant versus the new. A lot of these, the old covenant, everything was done by acts, you know, and you had to give sacrifice, all that. The new covenant, Holy Spirit dwelling within us. And when you said that, it just made me think there was a story of a guy that he was in the Caribbean and he was the only survivor on the ship. And he got back and he was like, you know, the ship sunk. I think everybody died. Well, 3 weeks later, they find this little girl who was like, no, he murdered my family, set the boat on fire. And she grabbed onto a raft and she thought that she was going to, die. There were fish nibbling at her feet and stuff like that. But then these dolphins came and kind of stayed with her until somebody found her. But it just made me think of how, God intervenes, like the impossibilities of that, all those things coming together for her to get back to the shore because he thought that he was getting away with something that, you know what I mean? So the correlation between the old covenant, new covenant, it just it made me think of all that.
No, they always get caught. You're always going to be caught. There is no hiding it. Okay. And then we got one little verse on property boundaries. You don't move your neighbor's landmark. You don't remove it, right? Which they of old time have set in your inheritance, right? Which you shall inherit the land, the Lord thy God, Jehovah thy God, your God, gives you to possess it. Huh, very interesting. Pretty interesting how those are messed with, boundary markers, with the current system, right? Well, yeah, you buy this much land. You buy 100 feet of land by 100 feet, but 10 feet of that's automatically our easement. Huh. No, it isn't. Yeah, liars. Okay.
You think your neighbor's being nice for cutting your grass and your yard keeps getting smaller?
Isn't it weird? When I moved in here, the weeds used to grow all over. Now it's just that one little patch. Yep. Yeah, the neighbor kids call it home plate. Okay. Anyways, and then witnesses. This is very important. You don't take one person's word as an accusation. You have to have at least 2 or 3 witnesses. At least 2. And they have to match. If you guys were with us when we read Susanna, which has to do with the prophet Daniel, it's a book in the Apocrypha, but it deals with 2 witnesses bearing false witness. And then Daniel is pretty smart. He says, okay, let's interview them separately. He says, well, where did this happen? One of them says, it happened over by the well. And then he asks the other one where it happened. And the other one says, it happened under that big fruit tree, which is like complete opposite area from the well, or however the story goes. Yep. Anyways, yep. And this part, man, can you imagine how much better society would be if it did obey his law and says that if a false witness is found to be, lying, they automatically get the same punishment that they were accusing for the crime for which they were accusing the other person.
Whew. Not so many liars.
It'd only take a couple of examples before that stopped.
Yeah.
Yep, that would stop real soon.
No, today most people just let media be their witness, and they're reporting a story, which doesn't have to be true. But I'm just like, Facebook, it's really become a place of like judgment, immediate judgment. As soon as the story comes out, people are automatically like, burn them, And I give you an example. There's a buddy of mine. He's fully tattooed up. He's kind of lived it a little rough, but he's a responsible businessman now. And the local news media had a picture of him, and they were saying something about credit card fraud at and I'm looking, I'm like, this isn't right, because that's not him, he's not like a crook. And anyway, he went back and he was like, hey, that's messed up, because I'm reading all these comments of everything, and I recognize him. I'm like, I'm not, something's wrong with this. But he goes back and he's like, that's messed up, y'all, and they didn't take it down. They didn't recant the statement. They didn't say we made a mistake. And it just, the immediate judgment of like 90 different comments of just random people who have never met him. It's, but anyway, you're right. The world would be much different if they listen to God's law.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Yep. Like, for example, where it says to stone to death the rapist. That would stop stuff probably quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I think. At least it'd stop it for that person, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to 20, shall we? Shall we? Okay. Laws concerning warfare. And very interesting, man. The very beginning of this. Don't worry, because Yah, your God, is fighting with you. He's the guy doing the actual fighting. And, the priest is to charge the people going into battle, saying, don't let your hearts be faint. Don't fear. Do not tremble. Don't be terrified because of your enemy. Right? He's going with you. He's going to fight for you against your enemies to save you. He does all the fighting. Yeah. That, but then look at this. Is there somebody who just built a new house and didn't dedicate it? All right. Is there somebody that planted a vineyard and you haven't eaten of it yet? And then someone who just got married. Did you just get married? You're not going to war either. None of these people go to war. Right?
That's how Solomon got around it.
That's why he had 1,000 women. That, and then, what is it? But then, is there anyone who is fearful and faint-hearted? Just go back to your house. We don't need you. Right? That stuff's contagious. Like you were talking about the Facebook comments. It's the same way with fear. Fear is
negativity. Oh, sorry.
The what?
I said just negativity in general. You know what I mean? Like even the workplace where the stakes aren't as high. One negative person can just like wreck the crew. The morale. Anyway.
No. I remember a certain group of friends, everybody would be like having a great time, and then one person would show up and start, oh, my life is so horrible. And the whole atmosphere would go from everybody being happy to, and that. One night I couldn't take it anymore, and I just started laughing. I said, man, that's a real bummer. And that got everybody's mood back up. But what are you supposed to do, man?
Right.
It's all stuff that you can't change. Just live with it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you got any comments on that? Warmongering? Warmongerizing?
No. He's more patience than I have. I'm just like, just go over there. I can't. I really.
So this is interesting too. If you come up on a city to make war, and they're just like, no, we don't want to fight, then they automatically become servants, right? Tributaries. But if they will fight you, you besiege it and kill every male there. But then the women and the children and the cattle, those are all spoil. You get to take them.
I was thinking about, this is back, you were talking about the chariots. I just had this idea of like, what would that look like? This massive army with all these chariots that you don't have. And I was like, I wonder if that's where the idea of quicksand came from. Like, because if water comes up from above, like God is he's always using floods to, to change. He did it in Egypt. He did it around the world. But if water comes up from the deep and saturates the sand, if you're in a desert area, your chariots are no good. They sink. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, I don't know. I was just thinking that, like, that it's interesting. Maybe.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, let's see. That's very interesting. You shall do this to all the cities which are very far off from you, which are not of the cities of these nations. Yeah, but then the ones that are close to you, which I'm giving you for an inheritance, you don't leave alive anything that breathes. So all men, women, children, cattle, flocks, chickens, all of it wiped out. That's quite interesting, though. So basically, it sounds like Yah's laying the plan for, or the blueprint for, to have vassal states surrounding your borders, or at least city states. Pretty interesting. Okay, and then who's getting wiped out? Where nothing's going to be left alive? Oh, Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites. And yet we know they didn't do that. And then this is interesting too. If you lay siege to a city, don't chop down the trees that are bearing fruit. Don't chop down the fruit trees for that.
I'm still mad about the cypress.
Well, you can use those.
Well, no, I know. It's just the swamp has been completely pillaged, and it'll never.
Oh yeah. Actually, I don't know. Do they have fruit on your cypress?
No, it's not. It's not an edible tree. It doesn't rot here, so you don't have to treat it or anything. But it's just
right.
Every time I'm driving in New Orleans, I'm looking at because I know what it looked like when I was a kid, and after Katrina destroyed a lot of the smaller trees, but I imagine seeing those pictures of someone standing next to the trunk of a tree that they've cut down that's the size of this room. And
Yep.
and I'm like, man, these trees are tiny. And now it's like almost just nothing. There's nothing there. There is one 100 square, not square mile. It's 1 square mile. Somewhere in the swamp where they preserved it. So it's the original couple 1,000-year-old cypress, but you have to get to it by foot and boat. And I'm afraid some mythical creature lives there. So nobody wanted to go. Like,
I don't feel like walking into that.
yeah.
Well, here's a disposable camera, and then we'll get it developed when you come back.
Right.
Yeah. Yep, that's right, Brenda. Larger hedge of protection surrounding your land. Very good. All right. Yeah, I think that's real interesting, though. And then this is interesting, too, because they're in an area that's kind of foreign to their knowledge. Only the trees which you know that cannot be trees for meat shall you destroy and cut them down. So what does that do if you go in, take over this area, and you got, a bunch of apple trees and pecan trees and, walnut trees. You got all those. Remember earlier in the law where it said that if you plant a tree, you can't harvest the fruit for 3 years. It has to fall on the ground, and that is for the tree itself. And then the 4th year, all that fruit goes to God. That becomes an offering. And then the 5th year, you can eat the fruit of it. So what about these trees when you take them over?
I would assume that year. I don't know. Man, that's kind of a lot to keep up with. Depending on how many you planted and when you planted them.
Right. But not even planting, but just talking about this with the keeping them, the ones you take over.
Right. No, I know, but I'm saying, because I'm thinking about, okay, I planted 100 trees through different years, and I've just taken over a bunch of trees. How do I keep up with all that?
With good records.
Yeah. I would assume that first year it goes to God. If it's already been fruit, you know what I mean? It's bearing fruit. I would assume that would go to God. But then what do you do? So like on the 7th year, that's how the Levites got fed. Because if you planted them all different times, then every year you'd get a different portion.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, for that one tree or for a certain set of trees, every year would be that 7th year. Didn't they donate it to the priests on the 7th year?
No, the trees I think are exempt of that. It's the field, the stuff you plant in the field that's where you have to give the land a rest for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
But everything, all your trees, all your fields, all your flocks, everything you give first fruits of the increase,
right?
Which is interesting. But I think the reason for the fruit trees and the nut trees is that would be a very reliable, I guess you could say, supply of food for that 7th year, that sabbatical year when you're not plowing the fields. When the land is resting. Because a tree fruits every year.
Right.
I don't know. Anyways, you got anything else from 20?
No, sir.
Okay. Has anybody got anything else from anywhere?
Maybe, Lynn, you might be thinking of Busch Gardens. I was looking that up. Busch Gardens is in Florida.
Bush. Cypress bush?
No, it's like, I think it's from Anheuser-Busch, but they it's I've
Yeah.
been to it with my family. They just got all kinds of. It's really, you walk around and look at pretty flowers, but apparently they've expanded to roller coasters and giraffes.
Okay.
That's what's popping up on Google.
I typed in Cypress Gardens and it came up somewhere in South Carolina.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there's a Cypress Gardens in Florida too.
Hmm.
Look at that. Central Florida. Centro SA. Okay. Anyways, we're not doing any SA stuff here. Too late. We already did. All right. Well, Landon, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah.
Giving some input. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Remember, come out of her, my people. That this is all the people that prayed for a reprieve. If you get this 4-year reprieve, I think things are going to kick off in liveliness pretty soon, though. It's the quiet before the storm. But you need to get out there and harvest. Be a worker for the kingdom. Right? Get your own house in order. Right? Or are you just going to do what we've been doing? Sit around, well, everything's going to be good and hunky-dory. And we'll be able to continue this as long as we vote correctly the next time around. Huh. Okay, everybody. Muchas gracias. Thank you much. Love you all. Get some rest. Talk to you soon. Bye. Goodbye.